Welcome back to Nigeria 2015, continuing our focus on the elections going on today and may continue tomorrow in some parts of the country. Well, let's go over now to Kano. Jibrin, our correspondent, is there for us today. Hello, Jibrin. What has changed ever since then? Is voting still going on?
Well, it's shambling as at 4 o'clock today.
Okay, I think we lost the audio there. I can't hear Jibrin say anything, so we'll go back. We'll correct that connection and get Jibrin back. He's correspondent in Kano. Well, Babajiro Gunsawa has since joined us, data and information analyst, and also Channels TV's in-house consultant on these elections. Well, Jide, we're going through all of this. Eventually, there was that announcement by the commission that where the card readers don't function, manual accreditation can go on. Does that change, or does it have any possible impact on all of those figures and analysis you've done, perhaps even by extrapolation?
Really, that doesn't change our predictions for what the likely turnout of these elections will be. Okay. Now, our predictions for the likely turnout, because voting is still ongoing, we can't discuss the predictions right now. But what we can expect is for a lot of those that had agitated that the INEC shouldn't use the card readers, at this moment, they will be having a field time. They will be saying, yes, they said so. INEC wasn't ready to use the smart cards, and INEC shouldn't have used it. So for that group of people, they will feel that INEC and we as a nation should have listened to them. But what you'll really notice is the reason why we are here regarding the smart card readers is because of what many analysts call numerical voodoo. When INEC had done the smart card reader test across those 12 states, it had only done them in 225 polling units. Clearly, we understand that there are approximately 120,000 polling units. So those smart card reader tests were done in just about 0.2% of all polling units. 0.2% is far from 2%. The smart card readers tests were done in significantly too few polling units to conclude that we could have really gone ahead with those tests. So what we had expected and what we had discussed, especially on channels at that point in time, was that INEC should have gone for a second level of test to include more polling units. So exactly what had happened today isn't totally unexpected. Very few smart card reader tests had been done, and there was really no assurance that we weren't going to be in this situation that we find ourselves today. All
right, just hang on. We'll come back and then we'll bounce those figures, those graphics off you as well, while we'll come back and look at those figures and how it impacted these elections. But let's go to Abuja. Ebong Udoma joins us. He's of the U.S. Public Radio, also monitoring these elections. Good evening, and thank you for joining us today. What have you seen so far today?
Well, it's really amazing because the electoral authorities said they were ready 6 weeks ago, and now we're hearing problems with card readers, and some people haven't been able to vote, and now the vote has been extended for another day. Generally around Abuja, things seem to have worked well, but we're hearing stories from around the country that things have not gone so well. As a matter of fact, my own sister is still waiting to vote in Lekki in Lagos right now.
Well, about the elections in continuing tomorrow in some other parts of the country, I mean, that's provided for in the Electoral Act. So many think, well, maybe nothing too wrong with that, especially considering the fact that the commission also did say they did have meetings with politicians saying, if it happens that you are not able to vote in your unit, you will have to come back and continue the next day.
Well, I've covered elections in the United States as well as Nigeria. I've covered 3 elections in Nigeria. This is my 3rd. In 93, I was here. In 99, I was here. And again, I'm here for this election. And I've covered elections in the United States, and we always have problems in elections in the United States. It seems as if it's part of the political process. However, I don't know to what extent the problems are in this election, but depending on how bad the problems are, will determine how people will look at this election going forward.
Well, that was with respect to functionality of the equipment that were deployed. What about in terms of the people, the resolve, how they conducted themselves today for the elections?
It is really amazing that in this country there's a two-stage process to voting. First, you have to get accredited, then you have to hang around and vote. I mean, it's really strange because it means the whole day has to be spent voting. And it was amazing to see people lining up and staying and waiting patiently to vote. I've always been amazed at the amount of enthusiasm there is to go out and vote in Nigeria.
Well, so far, because the build-up to these elections, many will tell you, very fascinating. One of the most fascinating ones we've had in recent history, these elections. And so, having seen what has happened today, they also did suggest that compared to the previous elections, in terms of how they conducted themselves, far much more improvement than we've had previously. Do you agree?
Well, I don't know, because the last election I was here for was in '99, and that was the very first election that Nigeria held after the military rule. I haven't been here for the subsequent elections since then, so it's hard for me to tell how much more different this is from what you had 4 years ago.
You talked about the 12 process, so to speak, of the elections. What would you have expected it should be by now?
Well, I would have expected that you go in and you get accredited and you vote right away. I don't know why people would have to hang around for hours waiting to vote. And I really appreciate that Nigerians have the patience to do that, but in many parts of the world, people would not do that.
So what's your impression? Because it's a two-way thing. If the people don't complain and say, all right, no problem, we're aware of this process before we came out to vote in the first instance, we can stand the heat, we're not getting out of the kitchen.
That's why I'm amazed that people are so patient and were willing to stand online and wait and get accredited and then wait again to vote. And my sister is still waiting to vote in Lekki in Lagos, which is supposed to be a part of the country where it would be the most efficient.
Well, the thing is, at least she got her PVC. You have many who didn't even get, so they're not waiting to vote. So she has something to be happy for.
I know. It was amazing to see because I started covering this election after the postponement, and it was amazing to see that people were still being given, people were still receiving their voter registration cards well after the original date for the election, and there was a test of the system a few weeks ago. And it seemed to go well in Lagos, where I went to cover it. I was in Ikeja, and it seemed to go pretty well over there. But it was a very small sampling, and I understand it had problems in other parts of the country.
What can you say about the introduction of the card readers to improve, enhance the integrity of the process? The challenge is notwithstanding.
Well, I don't know, because in the United States, having validation of voters and accreditation of voters is still a big issue. We don't have electronic voting in many parts of the United States. That's still an issue. It's amazing. You're well ahead of us in this system with the card reader system, where people's voter cards and their identities are electronically identified. We don't have that in the United States. In the United